Welcome again, man. Welcome again. I don't know. It is the morning inside and Nicardo Media House. Me and Daniel there, for chop it up this morning. Post game for the morning insider. Trying to get a live last night, but didn't get that live. But I mean, look, excited times, Daniel. We see some impressive stuff from the Reggae Boys. Some impressive moves. Players who you say back against the wall. Them turn up, but so good day to everybody. Hope everybody having a wonderful day. As I know, it is the morning inside. Best up to everybody. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel, people. You understand? But we're gonna get into it. Before getting into it though, did you enjoy that game?
Yeah, I think in the first 20 to 30 minutes when both teams was going back and forth, I think it was a very exciting game,
Yeah,
So I think I think I was very surprising by Trinidad and Tobago. Very surprised. I didn't think that they have that much quality. And I think this is the first time I'm really able to watch them and see what they are about. But it was a very exciting game. I like the back and forth in the first 20 to 30 minutes.
I think Reggae Boys fans. This was a different Trinidad team than that we faced in the last two previous friendlies. But I mean, it was a beautiful environment. The GTEC Stadium is such a first class football ground. Such a lovely, lush pitch. But I must say this though, the heritage players that born in the UK, it must be something. It's a pleasant atmosphere. I know they must have some friends, some relatives, girlfriend, mother, in that stand watching them, for the first time in the black, green, and gold. That must be something that it's a dream come true for them playing for the national team in England.
Yeah, I think it should be, especially the players that playing for the first time. Normally whenever you're playing for your national team, especially if you live in England and your team is outside of England, if you don't representing for England and you're going outside, most of the time they normally come to Jamaica, America. But
Yeah,
playing in England is a little bit more comfortability. You get what I'm saying? The environment it still feel like a home, and they
yeah,
able to perform. We see that from Casey Palmer. I think this is one of Casey Palmer's best game.
yeah.
I know he already cap already, but you can see the comfortability have been around the same environment. But um, good to see there's a lot of good players coming around, and
Yeah.
you
I
know,
think these two games that we scheduled to play in England can bridge the gap between who else want to come and play for the Reggae Boys. They would see the atmosphere. It's a lovely turnout. For
yeah,
both teams as well. The Reggae Boys fans, the Soca Warriors fans. They turn out in their numbers. And it's glad to see that they did a lap of Hannah to greet the fans around in the stadium and just give thanks that hey, appreciate your turnout today at the game. But again, man, I want this to send a message in the wider England of the other players that want to represent are thinking twice that look, it's a lovely atmosphere. The fans, they will love you, they will appreciate you. It's not like the atmosphere that the Three Lions will get at Wembley Stadium. You understand? But have to give them that. And also, Daniel, three debutant goal scorer on the score sheet, yesterday, Richard King, Casey, and who was that a player? Borrell.
Barrel,
Borrell scored, on his debut as well. So three debutant goal scorer, it's such I think he can't ask for anything better to score on his debut in England, in London. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful game for him. He was getting behind. He set up Kadim Dixon.
Yeah,
He just brings something different. I know previous show we was talking about something different from Nicholas and Antonio.
yeah,
Someone's that we have can get behind the back line and hold
yeah,
up play and run. You have everything you get, man, just by seeing that automatic goal where you just put it over. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it
Quick
seemed like a,
thinking.
yeah, very alert, very
Yeah.
alert. And I feel like we haven't had that type of striker around the box, So getting your first goal in your first game is wonderful. I would love for see what's gonna happen in the next game. I would go with the same team, same
Yeah.
players up top. You get what I'm saying? I think him and Dixon have a little connection together. I don't know if you see that they have a
Hmm.
little chemistry together, but
Both of them played in League One.
yeah. um yeah, but I think a very good first game for Barrel. I think that you said before about him, I could see what you was talking about. I see it in this game.
Yeah. And I have to say this as well. The three front players, they were all connected with each other. Cifas tried to set up both players, Kaim Dixon and Borrell. And Borrell, is trying to set up Kaim Dixon. And Kaim Dixon actually tried to set up Borrell as well. So it's good. We have never seen so many coordination together. The front line is playing together. The midfield, you see John Russell, Casey Palmer been knocking the ball together. Isaac Hayden. You could see in a if not attack in 2-3 attacks, Daniel. The three midfielders that we have in the starting 11, all coordinate together, passing the football together. We see the back four is pushing up together, is passing the ball around to each other. So these stuff we never seen this stuff before. It's pretty new in the Steve McLaren era. I could say maybe we saw a little bit of that type of case of Palmer that we saw, yesterday in the Cuba game, but it just didn't really happen. You understand? But I mean, it's lovely to see. But I said this to you at halftime. The players look fresh and they look hungry and like they're ready for the World Cup qualifier and a big summer of World Cup football.
Yeah, I think the team, these players that we were seeing, it's an opportunity to get in that World Cup squad. I already have a few players that I have in mind that I think would love to get in that team. The players them that have normally been selected have not been travel with this team. I think they
Yeah,
have
the job
their
cut out.
they have their job cut out. Enough of them supposed to sit down and say, John Star, me have to be careful, You get what me I say?
Yeah,
Because end of the day, these players are look like they're up for it. You get what I'm saying? But I know it's the first game. I don't want to get carried away, but
yeah,
you can own people are gonna say at Trinidad, but Trinidad was well competitive.
yeah,
We could have
yeah.
lost this game. You get
Easy.
what I'm saying? But people have remember said this Jamaica team is the first time playing together, and we see a lot of mistakes, we see a lot of bad things, but we see a lot of good things. You get what I'm
More
saying?
good things than bad.
Yeah, more. I think there's more good things than bad. So, I think these players gonna show in the next game. Whoever will play, in the next game. In the next game, I think.
Ghana or Nigeria, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever,
So
which one of them.
I think that game is gonna be a little bit more difficult, and it's gonna really show the quality of the players.
Yeah. And I must say this, it was refreshing to see the Reggae Boy started the game on the front foot. Jonathan Russell, he picked up some weird position on the pitch. I'm going to get there, soon. But we start the game really quick. We look more settled as minute one. We start to look more comfortable on the football. It's like we have a plan, we go out there to do something, and exactly what Steve McCarran, told those guys to do in the dressing room, they did exactly that, and I must give it to them. And one thing I saw, that we don't really do stuff like that. We actually try to get both wing players in the game as quick as possible. Kaim Dixon, as soon as he get it, he just start to run at people. Cifas, he got fouled, I think, in the first 5 minutes of the game. So we never really seen the Reggae Boys team, played on the front foot that quick. As I said, the players just look like they look at 2-3 weeks that they got. The off season. It seems like it have done a lot to their muscle, and I have to give it to Steve McCarran that how the team look. Yesterday it looked really put together team. It's looked proper. But I'm going to say another thing. It's Trinidad and Tobago. It was an international friendly. It's like a preseason tournament, but we passed the first test with a team that we played that they're going to back off. They're going to give us the opportunity to come at them. You understand? First test pass. what will happen against Ghana and Nigeria when those one of those two teams will come at us, will press, how the midfield will handle that pressure. You understand how they will handle that press, how they will play out the football. Because a little bit of time we see when the Trinidad team slightly give us a little press, we kind of little bit a little bit nervous bringing out the football. But you have anything that you want to say around that?
I think, I feel like in the next overall play, I feel like we're gonna have less of the ball. I feel like we're more gonna play on the break. So I'm not worried about. I feel like knowing that we going into the game, I always expect us to have the ball more. But as you said, that I think I never really see too much of a long ball today.
Yeah,
And every time we did make a long ball, it was the pass was actually
yeah,
good.
King.
Like
That was King. Yeah,
yeah, we was
Richard King
getting
after.
behind them. You know,
Yeah,
I can remember a few when Cifas get behind and he put the ball in the back of it with the cross. So, but as far as picking up the ball, I think Isaac Aiden he have gonna have to do a little bit better. You know, he have to turn fast. I don't know if that's his best attribute, but
yeah,
I think when we play against Ghana or Nigeria, they're gonna press us, and we're gonna
yeah,
have to be able to keep the ball a little bit better. Else we're gonna be chasing the ball a lot
yeah.
against those teams. I think those teams gonna keep the ball a little better than Trinidad.
Yeah. I just want to say, Shaquan Davis, the Mount Pleasant goalkeeper, he look a little bit nervous. If you ask me, he kind of a little bit nervous. He's handling, the ball at his feet. I guess I don't know. He bench, I think the entire playoff, in the JPL. So I don't know if it's a little bit of rust, that he haven't played in the last week or so. But if he goes on to play in the next game, which I don't want, I want to see another goalkeeper. Is it that we're going to see, Benji from Portmore? Are we going to see Tafari Chambers from Mount Pleasant? Which I think is one of the best amongst the three goalkeepers. But the center half, as I said, they made a few mistakes. They didn't really put more a lot of foot wrong. But I'm going to drop a clip, people. So watch this between Mason Oldgate, as Popcorn call him, Colgate. Popcorn call him man Colgate. You understand? So I'm going to play this clip where Richard King and Mason Oldgate actually got caught out in position quite a few times, and we seen patterns of this in the last Gold Cup. How Mexico beat us when Deshaun Bernard, Damian Lowe got caught out, in wild deep, chasing the ball and leave space behind. And if this Trinidad team was a more impactful team with more individual brilliance, maybe something that hit us in this game. So look at this.
McLaren was one of those that he consulted with in real depth. A big help to him, he says. Palmer looking to pick his way through again. Dixon is heavily involved. Plenty back in red. And that looked fairly cynical from Richard King. And it is going to come. He's had spells with Middlesbrough on loan at Bradford City in Kilmarnock. Scotland as well. And now a goal scorer at international level as Trinidad and Tobago try and respond straight away.
This is something that needs to get looked over. We concede goals like this. We even concede out something similar like this in the Azteca in the Nations League. It's like even when we play Mexico, they always counter press us on our right hand side and score similar goals. This is something that really need urgent attention. And you're asking me, you're wondering if Steve McLaren do stuff like this in the dressing room after a game.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna beat them too much because it's the first game of most of these players coming together, and it's only one training session before this game. But I think these are mistakes that we previously seen over the past couple games, and we see that one of those mistakes that last clip show you that we will concede goals. You get what I'm saying? I think King did I think King did pick up a yellow card for one of those bad tackle in the middle, and I just think that we have to, as defenders. We used to see this from Damian Law. He used to so rational, So we have to be very, very reading the game a little better, and I'm hoping that Steve McLaren, just like how we can able to pick out these type of clips and look at
Yeah.
it and say, yo, I'm hoping that he's there in the after assessing this match and looking over it, because I think we constantly seeing this type of mistake, and playing against better teams, it will cost us.
Yeah. Moving on though. The midfield played a brilliant game. Again, Casey Palmer, played a brilliant game. I really like him. He was very aggressive, towards the football, towards the players. He was going directly at the Trinidad players. He wanted to take them on. He showed intent of kill in that midfield. And that's what we want. We want someone that can show dominance, someone that can show that, I am the man in the midfield. He create so many opportunities in the final third. I think it was the end of the first half where him and Jonathan Russell, and I think Cifas was there, Burrell. They were making some like a quick 1-2 pass on the edge of the box, where I'm like, whoa, we never seen stuff like this before. But I have something that I want to, look, Isaac Eden, he played a brilliant game. He did exactly what he needs to do. But I think if you ask me, he can improve. And for me, if you ask me, someone that play the same role as Isaac Eden, I want him to be a little bit more aggressive of breaking the lines, a little bit more, get the ball a little bit more quicker to the attacking players. I want him to look, try to turn the football a little bit more sharper, try to attack a little bit more with a passion of intent. And this is why I'm saying this. People look at this Isaac Eden clip of, he got the ball, he was free, and there was like 4 or 5 Trinidad players, in our half pressing us at that time. And that those 5 players could have easily get caught out, and this is it.
King goes back to Davis. There's Hayden.
So if you look at that, you show that, look, it's a little bit of lapse. Yes, he miscontrol the football, but if you realize, Daniel, a sharper turn right there, 5 Trinidad players get caught out, would I get caught out of the game easily, and then you have to deal with another 5 plus, the goalkeeper make 6. So he needs to map up and stuff like this. And this is why Rodri is one of the best in the business. This is how Rodri break opposition, counter press and get in the final third of, the attacking, the defensive third.
Yeah, your DM is one of the main character on the field. So getting the ball like that, you should be turned. Busquets, all of these central DM midfielder turn quick and start the game. You get what I'm saying? As you said, Roger is one of the best midfielders. And can you imagine if Trinidad was pressing us that way? I think he would have lost the ball right there. Very casual, too casual. You get what I'm saying? And if you watch in the CONCACAF play, it's very physical, and man, he just bounce off a ball and gone with the ball. So
if someone was 3 yards away from him, they win the ball.
They win the ball. So I think Isaac Eden have to pick it up. I think he's gonna be the man that's gonna be leading the team from right there. You get what I'm saying? So I think he have to step it up. It's just not gonna work. You get what I'm saying? So too casual for me. Way too casual.
Yeah, and if you ask me, with him, that wasn't the only moment, but that was the best moment to show that a little bit of example of what happened in the game. He got moments in the game again where he could just easily turn with the football and move. I want him to be a little bit. I think he's a little bit. I know that's his style of play, but if you ask me, if he wants to be relevant in the CONCACAF region, the players that in the Panamanian team, they're a little bit more quicker and swifter, in that defensive third to bring the football out and help their team to break, the opposition counter press. I want to say this, Jonathan Russell. Do you realize he was picking up, some position in wide area? Like it's like he was playing like a half midfield, half winger in that Mazzella as the Italian they will call it. It's like he was connecting a lot with Kaim Dixon. And at times the midfield three was like it was a flat three, then it goes back to a double pivot and a number 10. But you have to give Steve McLaren credit for that. But did you saw, the positions where Jonathan Russell picking up and on that right hand side, deep on the touchline, and then driving to the midfield?
Yeah, if you do watch Cole Palmer and Odegaard that play for Arsenal, they tend to pick up those positions. The players like that tend to pick up those positions. Maybe that's very comfortable with. You get what I'm saying? But he was getting forward. I think he was the one that played the most closer to the striker. But he have quality that we really gonna really need. You get what I'm saying? Someone, a ball carrier. He's a really good ball carrying. You get what I'm saying? So I think him and I don't know how he's gonna. Him and Marcel gonna have to figure out who is gonna be the one that's gonna get that number 10 spot. You get what I'm saying? So I think Russell's quality. You get what I'm saying? I think Marcel does have this. I think Marcel is just more like I don't know, man. He came on and just made the game look so simple. But I think both players is different, but I think
it's a good headache. We have never seen this before. We're going to have, even when Lewis Baker coming, Lewis Baker will bring a lot of headache to this selection pool in midfield. You understand? Going forward. So this is what we really want. The headache inside of that, the engine, the midfield tree, and not Isaac, but Jonathan Russell. He pressed a lot. He was pressing a lot, and is when teams were trying to play out when Yaya Toure was playing for City and his long legs just continue to get in that way, and he pressed the opposition team where he actually his ball that he won in the defensive third of the Trinidad half. He create moments from it, and he create opportunities where we could have easily score more than one goals from Jonathan Russell press alone. So I mean, it's a good headache. It's a good selection to have. And I want to say this. Even when Casey came off the pitch, Ravel, forward on the level just didn't drop. Ravel just come say, hey, let me bring it to another notch. Look, Ravel didn't do anything really spectacular, but he did the basic. He did exactly what a midfielder need to do, second the football. And what I love about Ravel, when we pass the football, we tend to stop and watch the game. Ravel going for the football, demanding the football. And that I would love to see a little bit.
You want the ball.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see a little bit more from Isaac Hayden. Like, use the 6 sometime, go for the ball from the defenders, demand it, ask for it, move in position a little bit more quicker. You understand? And Ravel did exactly that, where he was demanding for the football. He was like, yo, give me the football. You understand? And that's what won. And he was showing that as well, But good thing, when he came on, the level of where Casey Palmer started it and Ravel finished it, it just never dropped. You have anything you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think Ravel didn't really. One thing I like with Ravel, he keep the ball. Something that he doesn't really. Even when there's, I think when we watch Jamaica, I think we tend to rush the game, and I think Ravel just came on. And even thinking about it, when I was thinking about that, Ravel came on. I don't think he's someone that bad to coming off the bench just to calm the game down. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think he's bad, but I think the quality that he have, the experience, someone and set piece, everything, like, just good to have someone on the team. I just want to know that is he gonna make the squad for the World Cup, because I think he's
out after 60. Then no Steve McLaren, issues, fouling, like, he's not in the 60-man pool. And I think I heard someone said this, that the 60-man pool going forward, that's where you have to pick from the World Cup qualifying squad. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do a little research on that to see, the World Cup qualifier that is coming up against British Virgin Islands and Guatemala. You only can pick from the 60-man pool, and Ravel is not in that. So maybe after this game, we will see Ravel, sometime, in September.
I did hear something that they said the Gold Cup squad is already confirmed. Is that something?
No, I think the deadline for the Gold Cup, I think the squad to announce, I think is June the 4th is the deadline, so that will be next week. That will definitely be next week. You understand? But the front three, we were saying this a little bit earlier that Borrell brings something different, to the number 9 position. Everyone was expecting, Warner Brown to get that start up front, but he is a player that he will press, he will defend. And even Steve McLaren said it in the press conference that look, he will do everything. He will run his socks off. And he looked like a fit lad, but that was the only change that made in the game. When Burrell came off, it's like something missing up front. And that's when the Trinidad team get a little bit more comfortable and they score exactly. When he came off, if my mind served me right, you understand? And then hope I was like, hopefully this don't continue, and boom, we can see that again from a set piece. The ball hit, I think the post and hit Shaquan Davis, foot, and then Molina, run on upon it, and I was like, whoa. But I saved the best for last. Richard King, you have Raphael on the pitch, and for a player like that to say, hey, I'm going to be the penalty. He's a penalty kicker for Cavalier. He kick all the penalty kick for Cavalier once he's available on the pitch at that time. And international, that shows you that this player is a grown player. His maturity is on a next level, and his composure of hitting the ball in the top bin. That says something about Richard King. And Steve McLaren said in his press conference that look, after this game, he's not going back to Jamaica. So,
Yeah. I think when I saw him step up for that penalty, I was kind of shocked, but then I hear the commentator saying that he was the one that won the trophy for Cavaliers. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's very confident. You get what I'm saying? And then seeing the penalty was a brilliant penalty. You get what I'm saying? But I think Richard K is one of the good thing that came out of Jamaica. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? As people, I say people always bash the JPL, and I always try to give the JPL credit. Look at
yeah.
Richard King. One of the centre back, one of the main centre back. But I think every time when he come in, he look. You just need to polish down in game and look a bit.
Mhm.
But I think
I
Richard
think if
King.
he play with someone like a Virgil van Dijk, a John Terry, he will someone with experience, continue to talk to him. Someone like a Ethan Pinnock, can continue
I
to.
was just about to
You
mention.
understand?
I was just about to mention Ita Pick. I think he can definitely get some guidance from Ita Pinnock. Just like because Ita Pinnock gonna play on the left side and Richard King
Yeah.
gonna play on the right. So I think
Mhm.
that's someone definitely can able to learn from.
Yeah, I think he needs that move. I think looking at him for the last couple of years, JPL he's not playing bad, in the JPL, but he just being a little bit stagnant because he's continuing to play at a level where he's already above that level. I think he just needs to challenge himself, and there's no more criticism on if JPL players can do it at the international level. It's just that you have to pick the right player, you have to select them in a right system, and League One players can match up to that level. They prove it that they can match up to that level. There's good players in the League One. That league, get a few points, over the last couple of years in terms of quality, coaches, the pitches being better, everything being better, man management, tactical side of the League One, everything has grown over the last couple of years. So League One players can cut it at that level, but it's just that you have to select the right players and put them in the right system. You understand? But let me see if I anything else that I want to touch on. Did we drop 3 of the clips already? Did we drop trying to remember if we dropped all the clips. I think we dropped the one with
You
let me
drop
see.
the midfield, the defense and the midfield. They
I
didn't drop
dropped
anything
I
about the
dropped
form.
the John Russell one, the defensive line. I know, let me see.
Potentially turning defence into attack for the Soca Warriors. Gilbert. Kevin Molino. Gilbert's continued his run. Does have support here. And there's the chance.
I think we did we touch on that? No, no, we don't touch on that. But look, you saw, the three midfielders got caught out easily, and it happened 3 times in the game. That's too simple. That was just too simple. Let me just run it back a little. Caught out easily. Three midfielders got caught out.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are stuff that needs to work on going forward. You understand? And when the ball went behind, Casey, Isaac Eden and John Russell, they were all just jogging. None of those players were
No
sprinting.
urgency.
No urgency.
Yeah.
So and that was in the first half. So we need to work on the tactical side. We need these players to be doing these video sessions of, look, these are the stuff that needs to happen. And
Yeah.
if I can criticize Isaac Eden game, I think there's an element as a six. You need to be a little bit more urgent on your toes. You can't be lapsing. And I mean, you have anything that you want to broad brush on that?
Yeah, I think I'm the first game with that midfield together, Jonathan Russell, Casey Palmer, and Isaac Hayden. I think the chemistry will have to get up there. I
Yeah.
think Steve McLean really have to talk to these players that you gotta get back, you gotta stay in position, you gotta watch your surrounding. You get what I'm saying? Because against better teams, we will be in polish. If you're gonna play against the Mexico that dominate, their main threat is to control the ball and keep the ball, and they're gonna run string around you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And USA have our top midfield too. Adams and what's his
McKenny.
name? McKenny. These guys, they know to keep the ball, and triangle will kill us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this is just the first game with these midfield, and then the urgency is not there yet. So I'm not gonna kill him first session. So maybe going into more competitive game, the urgency will be there, but you have to practice to become that, to get to that level. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's just the first game.
Before we close out, I want to just say this. Isaac Hayden, since he made his debut, in that first leg of the US game when he came on, he made his first start in Missouri, and this game that played yesterday, that's his fourth midfield partnership. So he's in the second leg of the Nations League, in Missouri against the US. He started with Joao Latibodier. In the St. Vincent game, I think he played with Sole Makala I think it was in the first. I don't remember if it was the first leg, and then he played with Bobby Reed. I think it was Bobby Reed he played with in St. Vincent, and then Sole Makala he played with in Kingston as well. And now this midfield, he played alongside John Russell and Casey Palmer. So this is his fourth midfield in partnership since he made his first start for the national team. So hopefully going forward, Daniel, this will be the set midfield that he will continue to play with and be familiar with them in terms of the tactical side and how to close down players and know when who to press and who to back off. And Ronaldo Cifas, the last point before we close out, they said that speed skill. You see that signs are literally everywhere when you drive on the street, and it shows that he finished the game with 2 assists because he won 2 penalties. You understand? And I think that one of those pass, I think it was a build-up on the left-hand side with Amari Bell and Greg Lee. And Greg Lee got the ball inside from Amari Bell got the ball inside from Greg Lee from the outside, and he just played the ball behind. And this is what you want to see from the Reggae Boyz. How much time we see the ball that they just hit the ball behind on the ground, knowing that we have speedy players up front, and Cifas, he just run onto it, and the keeper have no other else option but to foul him. You understand? And he was just a pest. And I want to say this before you chip in and say your last, before we close out. A lot of people, saying Cifas end product need to get better. Yes, I get that, but I think Cifas have a role in this team, and Cifas' role is to draw those attention. Get the wing backs isolate, get the team push back. So if a team they are pressing us, use the ball and Cifas wing. Let him use his pace and pin back that wing back, so that team can actually go back a little bit where the midfield can get space. So there are traits in Cifas game that we can use as a weapon going forward, not just his pace, You understand? But use him to isolate 1v1 versus opponent and just speed skill. That's what they said.
Yeah, I think I was Cifas, man. Like there's it come like there's a ups and down today, you know. 1 minute him do something good, 1 minute him do something. But yeah, overall, you have a very influence on the game. You get what I'm saying? That the commentator was giving him a lot of props. You get what I'm saying? Like he was one of the reasons why we won this game today. But I think, as I said, people are always gonna criticize him in decision making. When I was watching the game and I was reading the comments in the comment section, people say, "Oh, Steve selfish," you know, as I say, especially that one that
But I
he got.
want him to be selfish at times.
Yeah, I know, but you know, sometimes you know, just the one that
Yeah.
you could have lay off to Kadim Dixon. You get what I'm saying, and then the shot what he make that people think that you should have give it to Morrison, but you know, as a striker, you're gonna take that regardless. But I think Cifas is one of those players where we really could be one of the main man. You get what I'm saying? Because you just every time him get on the ball, he just feel like something's going to happen. You get what I'm saying? And he's just that really good outlet where we can get over. You know, I think if Morrison can get in the team, put some ball over the top and Cifas have the speed, you know, 1-2 penalty, you get what I'm saying? Even though he have an ups and down game today, but you could have said he was the man of the match.
Yeah, he was. Even though he was a little bit away at times, you know, failed to be 1v1 sometimes. But whenever he got behind, he did something and he created damage.
He's always a threat.
He won one of the penalties as a winger and he won one of the penalties as a number 9. Yeah,
and I like that. I like how Steve McLaren have him on the wing and then put him as a number 9. I like that. He's trying something.
What you do of Steve McLaren sitting in the stand watching the game for majority of that first half?
I think it's a good tactical.
He showed that he wants to see the game.
Yeah. I think it's a very good, because sometimes when you're down on the field, they don't really see the game. But when you're in the stands, you can be able to see the game a little bit better. But I think it's a good tactical point of view to see the game from up top. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if he did see it, but I think at close to the final part of the first half, a man come on to sit like at the row next to Steve McLaren. I'm like, yo, don't sit there. and then Steve McLaren, like I said in the video, and then Steve McLaren get up and move on to the other side and look for him like, you know, see how so you know what? Nobody's doing that. So yes, but I mean that show a little bit of intent that he want to see something different. And I'm glad to see that, you know, McLaren really take this game seriously. That it's something that he wants to build, and this game shows that the team can play, and this is not our fully structured A team. So if he cannot get the Bailey to play the way you want to play because of ego, lack of discipline, then those players need to get dropped and
Kadim Dixon, if Bailey not up to it, play Kadim Dixon. If Demar Gray not up to it, play Cifas. You know what I'm saying? Michael Antonio Nicholson is not up for it, play a Barrel. You get what I'm saying? So we don't have time for waste. We don't care about players' names and stuff. Whoever is going to perform and play towards the team, play them.
Yeah. But you know, for the first time in a long while, we won the game from the midfield. We won that game because Casey Palmer came out bright, Isaac Hayden came out bright, and Jonathan Russell came out bright. You know, playing like in that little half space as a winger and as a midfielder. You know, so glad to see that, you know, we won that midfield battle. You know, something that we haven't won in such a long time, and win the game impressive. And that's what killed the Trinidad team. And you know, they just couldn't get anything. Look, they have some very good midfielders that can keep the football, but they just didn't get that opportunity to do so. But when they did, you see a little bit of quality. And let me say this again, this team going places with Dwight York because they are missing a couple pieces, but this team is going places with Dwight York. I can see that.
Yeah. I think as I said before, I never thought they was this good. You get what I'm saying? And we don't forget, we almost lost this game. If it never was for that last block, I think it was Isaac Hayden. If it never was for that block,
one of those players, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, very good. You know, I know at the end they were laughing, the two coaches, but it was a very good competitive game. You get what I'm saying? So Good turnout for the fans them
Yeah,
too. Both
good
sides
turnout.
was I never know that was so many Trinidad people there in England. So good support for the game. A good test for the both teams.
Yeah, and I said the new players, all of them passed their tests, so it's Eddie selections going forward for McLaren. But I like to see a little bit more fresher, younger, not younger, but the fresh ones that didn't get the opportunity. And I don't know if you stayed on the stream, long enough, but I saw the players that didn't feature. They were actually doing, like after a training session or a game,
Yeah,
we do a like
warm
a
up and
rundown, warm
stretch.
down.
Yeah,
That's glad to see that they actually did that as well. So people, have come to an end. Quite a long video, for the morning insider. But again, it's the post game, for the morning insider that the game that played yesterday. But Daniel, thanks for passing through again on the platform, the morning insider. We don't know when we'll do a live, if we anything will pop up before Sunday, but if anything, we will jump right into it. But as the game coming up on Saturday, let's see if we can bring home the Unity Cup and actually go into the World Cup qualifier with a trophy under our belt. A preseason tournament, a trophy is a trophy, man. You just have to just walk with it, and it will build, squad morals, confidence,
and
trust,
build that
everything
winning mentality. Yeah.
win and the winning mentality. You understand? So, bless up yourself. Thanks for tuning back again, people. We out after this.